Hey, turn around. Look what I got here.
What?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Cooking with Clams. Will. You know the Key West Waterman, and that's Miles over there. You've definitely seen Miles on Aaron's channel shooting some grouper. We are on the South Shore of Long Island, and we are visiting an oyster and kelp farm. Lovely owner of Violet Cove Oysters is going to explain everything kelp and everything oyster to us in just a moment. We're just heading over to the boat now.
Starting to understand the snowbird thing, you know?
Well, you always have a place here on Long Island.
Yeah. We ready?
We are ready.
All right, we haven't been in the water all week.
I love that wheel. We're headed out to the oyster, would you call them the oyster grounds?
Yeah, I always call it a farm.
Oh, yeah, farm.
Definitely more of a farm than oyster grounds. Sometimes the oyster grounds are people who are free casting the oysters in the tidal zone, and we grow them in cages. So an oyster farm,
Okay.
oyster ranch.
So tell me about you, your farm, your operation.
So my name is Sue Wicks. I am an oyster farmer. My farm is called Violet Cove Oysters, and we also grow kelp. We are the first commercially licensed kelp grower in New York State. I've been doing this for 8 years. Formerly, I was an entrepreneur working on a small startup, and before that I was a college basketball coach, and before that I was a basketball player.
There you
and
go.
before that I worked on my dad's boat. So
Okay.
I'm back where I started.
So it's in your
now
blood.
I'm the captain.
So we talked a bit before, and it's funny, I always have it backwards because I get the idea for kelp and to visit a kelp farm in the summer, which happens to be the wrong time.
Well, it's always the right time to visit an aqua farm.
Okay.
We just have seasons. So kelp is a great one for oyster farmers because it's during our slower time when the oysters are kind of in semi-hibernation. The kelp blooms and grows and explodes in growth. It likes the cold water. So we plant our kelp, let's say, every year a little bit earlier, probably November, mid-October. And in March it explodes. The growth is, you could almost watch it grow before your eyes. Kelp is amazing.
It's interesting because kelp, I feel like, hasn't quite found its thing. And we were talking about this a little bit. You picture it in just seaweed salad. Like when you picture a pickle, you picture a pickle. You can pickle kelp, but sometimes you just want a pickle. So what is kelp's, where is its, where it can't be replaced by anything? Because you can take kelp and replace a bunch of other things, but what can you use kelp for that it can't be replaced by something else?
The one thing kelp does that none of these other things do, it's 100% sustainable. We grow this crop with no fresh water, no land, and no fertilizers. This crop is growing, and as it grows, the environmental benefits are profound. Yeah, we always think of terms of dollars and cents, but the profound, the most valuable job that this kelp is doing is cleaning this bay.
What is the bay that we are in?
We are in the Great South Bay, and my section here is Mauritius Bay. It's a small, tiny bay. My family has worked on the water. Believe it or not, I am the 19th generation of working on the water. So that goes all the way back to Thomas Wicks, one of the first settlers on Long Island in Huntington Bay.
Get at it.
He's a farmer.
That's
and
where I
also
live.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every generation has had a Wicks work on the water. So when I turned 50 and started my farm, I had an opportunity to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic if you're a farmer, that I can grow oysters in this bay, that those oysters are going to do benefit to this ecosystem, and we're going to have oysters again. So let me just tell you, with the sugar kelp, with the restoration efforts of the different Mastic Beach Conservancy, Save the Great South Bay, Mauritius Bay Project, we have spatterings of eelgrass again. We had a wonderful season of bay scallops here for the commercial fishermen. In a world where we hear so much bad news about the environment, that a couple of few dedicated people are like, I think we can do this. I'm gonna try, even though everyone says it's impossible, do it. You know, you're not gonna save the whole world. We're not gonna get the microplastics out of the bay or the ocean overnight, but that tiny little plot of land that tiny little water spot.
You're gonna do it.
I feel I can do that.
All
and
right.
if we all do stuff, we can do things.
Well, as three, Miles, do you like oysters?
I do.
All right, so as three oyster lovers, we appreciate
Okay.
your hard work. All right, so this is your
Violet
farm.
Cove. So we're in front of a beautiful nature preserve here, and across the way is Fire Island National Seashore. All of these cages are my floating cages, and there's oysters in just various sizes that have been growing. And in the back, if you can see those yellow buoys, all along there is where I grow my sugar kelp. In the winter, we'll plant that in hopefully mid-October this year. We're trying to get a little earlier.
And now, how big is your operation? Meaning, how many employees do you have?
It varies.
Okay.
I've had as many as 5 of us out here.
Only 5.
Only 5.
Okay.
And then now I have 3. There's 3. I count myself as an employee.
Absolutely.
So there's 3 of us can work this farm. Having a good crew that works together, has great chemistry, is something kind of you don't want to mess around with. So it's like, okay, this crew works so well together. One more person. So if that could mess up everything. So if the right person comes, I'll hire them.
Yeah.
If not, we'll just work ourselves over time and just, work as a good group.
So the next time that you're at the oyster bar and you're turning your nose up to that $3 or $4 price, just remember there are 3 people working an entire operation like this, and it is backbreaking labor.
The water might be a little cooler here. Test it and see if it feels a wee bit cooler than the other bag.
Where we were.
I'll put my thermometer in. It's actually not that bad, a little bit.
Just so that we don't look like 3 jerks just sending Sue out into the water there. Every oyster farm and oyster operation is different. Every single one. So if you go back to Will Peckham's farm, the West Waterman oysters, his boat, he actually goes through the farm.
It was quite a bit deeper.
And it was quite a bit deeper. And then in Ireland, the farm is right up along the beach. And so everything is different. So not one of us here thought we would be getting in the water. So before anybody reams me for sending somebody to go get oysters while we're sitting here hanging out, just know, if we had known, we would have gotten in the water. Hey, you're getting your oyster delivery here.
Oysters. I'm just going to slip them up here.
Mm-hmm. That purple is an indicator of great health in the bay. If you see an oyster that's white, super white, it's definitely bleached by the sun, but it's lacking all of these micronutrients, let's say, that are in the water, a healthy body of water. So this purple indicates a very healthy body of water. One of the things that we neglected to bring was an oyster knife, but Sue just shucked an oyster with some scissors.
Might be crunchy. Try to get another one.
Crunchy.
Is that your first oyster from straight from the farm?
It is, yep.
All right.
It's delicious.
See, I come from Florida, where in the Gulf they don't care what they look like. They're just this giant nasty mess, and they come in the boxes like that. And the fact that you guys take care of them and make them clean and neat is just mind-blowing.
Revolutionized the industry here in New York, because those oysters, to serve them in a raw bar to one of the high-end places, they're like, no, that doesn't look good on a plate.
Oh, absolutely not.
So when they came with this, an individual perfectly shaped cup, looks beautiful, they're like, yeah.
Now listen, that is ingenuity right there.
That might be a little crunchy.
I'm not going to walk you through opening oysters with a pair of scissors because I don't want you doing that at home. But listen, when you got to get it done, anything is an oyster knife.
Oh yeah. There's just nothing like that North cold salt water. That's the little salty flavor.
Punch out of it. Long Island cuisine, bacon, egg.
So something Sue was saying that in the summer, right now the oysters are spawning, so they take on a little bit of a different taste. Where in the winter they're sweeter, a little more crisp, and not as I would almost say creamy. I mean, that's a bad word, but they're fuller.
Yeah. I mean, they changed. So when people say, "Oh, give me a flavor profile," yeah, they love shells back in the water. It changes. The oyster changes depending on the time of the year. And now there's a flavor profile for sure. You get more of that vegetal seagrass at the end because the water's filled with the microalgae that it's eating. So you get that beautiful one. So if you get this oyster when they haven't been eating, but they changed all of their body to glycogen, you're going to get the sweetness in the middle. You'll get that briny in the front always. And then you'll get a middle flavor that could be almost like a cashew, creamy, and then sweet from the glycogen. And then at the end, you're going to get very minimal third taste of the algae. So now I think you're getting a lot of algae, vegetal green seagrass at the end, and then always, the signature of a Long Island oyster is the salinity, the briny.
Oh yeah.
Not to be too poetic, but this is when I was away from Long Island and I could have a Long Island oyster. It was almost distilled right into this little 3 inches. All those nostalgic memories of Long Island, like I could taste them almost. It was packed in here like a sensory explosion, thinking of when I'm a kid on my dad's boat, when I'm a kid going over to Fire Island. All the smells come back up, the kelp on the ebb tide, salt water, all those different things explode. I mean, if you taste it, after 4 or 5 champagnes, I'm not thinking that at all. But the initial one, it's very romantic and nostalgic.
Love that.
Yeah. Luckily, these are newish scissors.
You just shuck this with shears, just so everyone is clear. And that's, that's pretty perfect.
I had no boat, I had no dock, I had nothing. I'm like, all right, I'll be an oyster farmer. I don't know how to do it. I have no idea. But I just, through the application process, I just learned a little bit, watching YouTube videos. And then the only way to learn how to do this, because every body of water is different.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
And that is something I was saying earlier that's amazing to me, is that so far on the channel, we've gone to Fisher's Island. We went to West Waterman. We're now here at Violet Cove. I've gone to an oyster farm in Hawaii, in Ireland. Every single one is different. Yeah. Everyone is different, and it's amazing, because it really is. It just, the bodies of water are different, so then how you grow them is different. So even if you took someone that had their farm and their body of water and moved them to a different body of water, they would have to relearn.
Absolutely.
We're heading back, and Sue actually has some kelp that she harvested that we're going to cook with. And we're going to head back and talk kelp, and you have some other products as well.
Yeah, I'm so curious what you're going to do with the kelp. I'm so straightforward and simple and with it. I know how I like it, but I'd love to see what a chef can do with this kelp.
Okay, so this is just frozen blanch puree.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Sue over at Violet Cove Oysters, and for sending me home with a little bit of her pureed kelp. Now, fresh kelp only has a shelf life of about 3 days. You have to use it so you can freeze it, and that's what she gave to us here. But I thawed it out and actually ran it through a sifter just to get some of the moisture out so that it doesn't mess with our recipes. Now we're going to make 2 things. We're going to make a red wine vinegar kelp mignonette for Sue's oysters, and then we're going to make a kelp pesto, and then we're going back to Miles' house and and we're gonna make pizza with the kelp pesto. So mignonette's pretty simple if you've ever had it. A lot of people can get a little weird with it, but traditionally mignonette is a vinegar, cracked black pepper, and shallot. So what we're adding to the mix is the kelp. And I thought it would be interesting because she grows the kelp in the same space as her oysters. So they should have, obviously a kelp and an oyster have their own flavor profile, but they should have similar profiles due to where they are grown. So we're gonna dice up some shallot, real nice and small. And also the joy of mignonette, you can make a pretty decent amount and it will stay good in your fridge for a long time. We'll add our red wine vinegar. Now a lot of people use a little less harsh vinegar like champagne vinegar, white wine vinegar, but we're going big today. And then cracked black pepper, good amount. Big old spoonful of our pureed sugar kelp. And that's it. I'm gonna put this aside and let it sit for a little while before we crack open some oysters. Now for our pesto, we just have 1 clove of garlic. This is all getting blended so we don't have to go crazy with chopping anything. And then I have pine nuts, lemon, grana padano. And grana padano is a lot like Parmesan cheese. In my opinion, it's actually better. A little more mild and a lot cheaper. All right, let me grab salt and olive oil. Okay, we got our little Cuisinart from the 70s here. Throw in our garlic, our pine nuts, our grana padano. Okay. Now we put in our kelp puree. Our lemon. Pretty delicious already. We'll also, in the meantime, add our salt. Slowly add just a little bit of olive oil. Okay, that's looking more like what I want. Give that a taste. Oh yeah. Okay, now let's open some oysters. This is from Toadfish, their oyster shucker. They have 2 kinds, and then they have this Kevlar little towel that's really good so that you know, if you miss an oyster, you won't stab your skin. You can pick up anything from Toadfish with a discount. Just go to my description and the discount code is in there. They are very, very pretty. But okay, let's open a couple up here. Take your knife, and it's all about applying the correct pressure in the right space and not too much pressure. So you come into the hinge back here, like so, and you're going to wiggle in until you're in the oyster like that. Now all we're going to do, without applying any forward pressure, we're just going to turn our knife like we were turning a screwdriver. And then we're going to take our knife along the top because there's a muscle right here that we want to sever. To me, the most important part is not severing or puncturing the belly. Okay, got our oyster shell off of the top. So you wipe your knife off and come underneath the oyster and slide it under that adductor muscle right there. And now the oyster is separated and ready to eat. Alright, we got taste testers here. So my mom's a purist in her oysters. She doesn't put anything on them, doesn't want them adulterated. So I haven't dressed them yet.
Okay.
But that is red wine vinegar kelp mignonette. Eat an oyster, eat one of Sue's oysters without anything first.
Okay.
It's a good oyster.
Very nice.
So the funny thing with mignonette is even when you make that much, you're putting the tiniest drop on an oyster. It almost, I'll have that for the next 4 months. Here, serve me up one
How
there.
would that be?
That would be good.
Yeah.
A little more kelpy.
Oh, there we go. Nice and kelpy.
I like the mixture very much. It's very tasty, but I have to say, I like the taste of a raw oyster better.
Of course. What you feeling?
It's very. I don't want to. Whatever the earthy word for sea, in the ocean is. It's like it's very earthy but
Briny.
briny flavors.
Mm.
Like you can taste like the land of the kelp. If that makes, I don't know how to.
Yeah, no, I get what you're
I don't
saying.
know how to say that.
It's very,
Earthy and like a sea.
what's the word?
Water.
It's like vegetable, like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
very,
That's
Yeah.
good. No, I like it.
that very vegetate. I don't know the exact.
I don't know the word for it.
I know, we're gonna look it up. the brain trust here is gonna get on top of it and figure out the word. But yeah, it's funny when I talked to Sue and I mentioned, yeah, I'll make something with the kelp to put on the oyster. She went, oh no. She goes, I'm a purist and I just like my oysters not grilled, not anything, just raw as is. And I couldn't agree with her more. But a lot of people do like grilled, barbecued. Oh no, the pepper gotcha. Death. He died happy eating an oyster. It's okay. But my point being that if you do like mignonette, you could even make kelp cocktail sauce.
Oh.
You could do a lot of different
It's really
things.
good. I like it.
But
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very nice sauce. I could see it on, like, fillets
yeah,
of fish.
all right.
Very nice.
Well, we're gonna grab our pesto, head to Miles' house, and make some pizza. The word is vegetal.
Vegetal?
Vegetal. It's when something tastes of plants and vegetation.
That's the word.
Vegetal. Now we're locked in the car. All right, we'll see you at the house. It was gonna kill me if I couldn't think of that word.
Not very good at this.
What do you mean? Looks perfect.
It's looking all right so far.
Look at
this
that
one.
one.
This one, not so much.
Counting on you, Miles.
We're trying. It'll taste good at least.
Trying to.
I was trying to be unserious and didn't get that. I need that movie to come out.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, next year, right?
Don't know how that's gonna taste.
Kelp pesto. The superfood pesto.
The superfood pesto.
Is kelp a superfood?
It is. Do you have olive oil?
Yes. Oh.
Right behind you. Oh, it doesn't matter. I was just rolling out. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, into the house we go. Well, hopefully I make it there. This is a risky game here.
Watch your step.
Yeah.
Molly's going first, so Dave and Carrie. She's doing a semester abroad.
Look how perfect that looks. Wasn't the straightest cut.
Hey, it's all
But
right.
it's still gonna taste the same.
Going in. It tastes like kelp.
It does. But it's pretty good. But it has that word again.
Vegetal?
Vegetal.
It reminds me of something that I can't think of.
Seaweed?
No. No, hold on. I need to think of this. No, it reminds me of something that I eat and enjoy, which is
You not
good
enjoy
sign.
this?
No, I am.
He's like, I don't enjoy this.
Yeah.
On the carpet.
I just put this on.
All right, guys. We're gonna make some more pizzas. Enjoy our time here with our friends. But one thing I will say, so kind of what I was saying earlier is that kelp hasn't found its thing, and a lot of times you replace it. So like kelp pesto, I replace the basil with the kelp, and the problem with that is that you have people that they then will miss the basil taste of pesto. So it has to come up with its own thing, because you could do kelp chimichurri, but then that's chimichurri. So what is the kelp sauce? I'm putting it on you guys out there to revolutionize kelp. But I am happy with this, and it is the kelp absolutely came through. It is a deep flavor, and it's not a typical pizza topping, but it's pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with this. So all right, guys, thank you so much, Sue. What a great morning out on the water, and what a great day. And now we got this great product to make pizzas with. So thank you so much. All right, guys, I will see you on the next one.